Either one is good.
I haven't seen anyone read Sharanagati.
Okay. Can you turn that on the quiet, the silent setting? Yeah, there you are. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to start reading Sharanagati. And we're very fortunate to have this by the grace of Sripad Tyagi Maharaj in this translation. Okay, well, we'll start from this first piece, which was collected from Gurudev's talks, which Tyagi Maharaj put here as part of the introductory section. Jai Shri Gurudev. In praise of Sharanagati, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. In praise of Sharanagati, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj gave much attention to the writings of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Bhakti Vinod Thakur is very sober and has expressed our conception in a very beautiful way through his songs. I feel and think that for anyone who practices Krishna consciousness, who is eager to practice Krishna consciousness, and has affection for the line of Krishna consciousness, it is not necessary to read anything else. The songs of Bhakti Vinod Thakur are sufficient. That is, one will obtain all knowledge through his songs. You may not find all the references for this knowledge in his songs, but you will find all knowledge and our conception expressed very clearly there. And as Srila Gurudev has mentioned, this was one very prominent ability that Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur had to be able to present Krishna consciousness in a variety of ways, in a variety of formats, in a variety of languages, in a variety of styles, according to the particular audience that he wanted to connect to. And so he wrote like over 100 texts in numerous different languages. And if you compare some of the styles, it's astonishing, he was able to understand clearly the mentality of different sections of people and speak to them in a way that they could understand, and in their own language. So for example, Srila Gurudev mentioned Jaiva Dharma, which is one of the most famous books, right, of Srila Bhakti Thakur. Gurudev said that was for the Indian thinking man, someone with an Indian Vedic mentality. That book is for them, Jaiva Dharma. They can appreciate that text. And then he said, but on the other hand, Chaitanya Shikshamrita, that is more for the Western-minded person with more of a Western mentality. They will be more attracted to that book. And I haven't read that book, but we've heard Srila Gurudev speak about it a little, and also one chapter of that book Gurudev published. And he published as Paramartha Dharma Nirnoy. And I believe it's there that Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is discussing the gradation of consciousness in different forms of life. So the style is more scientific, systematic, more appealing to the like non-religious type persons. You know? Yeah, Chaitanya Shikshamrita it's called. And as I said, I think it was chapter 8, but I'm not sure. One of the chapters Gurudev took and published, and he wrote his own introduction. And Gurudev wanted that, several times he mentioned he wanted that translated, published in English. You know, he published that as a Mat text. And that is something on the list of Jaggi Maharaj's projects. Hopefully that will come soon. And then also he has poetry, English poetry, which you could not believe was written by an Indian. You know, it's like, it sounds like someone living in like Victorian London. You know, like the language that he uses and the analogies that he uses. I mean, it's incredible. You know? And then he mentioned, then for like the simple people, like the village people, he wrote these songs. And because this was like, he wanted to like just integrate these songs into their culture and their daily lives. So in the same way that we see like Srila Narottam Thakur and others have done. So this is like a village tradition, not only in India, but actually you see in like in many traditional cultures, you know, they have this, you know, this custom to gather together and express their hearts in song. And so, you know, this was like an easy way, like to, you know, infiltrate, you can say, for the simple-minded persons to assimilate, you know, these teachings of Mahaprabhu and our Guru Varga. And now, you know, by the grace of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you know, these songs that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, they've been incorporated into our, you know, our daily temple practice. So, you know, we're singing these songs, and in our Navajit Mat, these songs were sung. In the Gaudiya Mat, Srila Saraswati Thakur, these were sung. And Gurudev also mentioned, I don't know if it's mentioned here, but he said that before, because Srila Gurudev grew up in a Vaishnava family, and he said when he was growing up, Narottam Thakur was the head of the song department. But then after he joined the Mat, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he took that position. He had the primary position in terms of song. His songs are so anyhow, Gurudev's like saying here that these songs, they're apparently like simple, or you know, not all of them, but many or most of them. It's very like accessible language, and you would not know that actually there's so many scriptural references which are you know, the source of what is being expressed there in this, you know, simple and sweet way, to a sweet tune. And so that's what makes this book, Sridhar Maharaj's commentary, so valuable, because he's revealing, you know, what depth is behind all of these expressions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Okay. So you may not find all the references for this knowledge in his songs, but you will find all knowledge and our conception expressed very clearly there. I think the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur are sufficient for everyone, and whenever I get a chance, I read the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You do not know how much happiness I felt when Sharanagati was published in a beautiful form. Many books of Srila Guru Maharaj had been published. We were very happy to see even Brahma Samhita published. But when Sharanagati was published, I was overjoyed to see her form. And I believe Gurudev is referring to, it's a little small golden edition that is published in our Mat. Maybe with the help of Shripad Sagar Maharaj, Gurudev published Bengali. Bankim Chandra, the emperor of Bengali literature, wrote, Balya Prem Var Sangadi. This means that the very strong love felt between young men and women is unbreakable and is the sweetest form of love in this world. When I was very young and first joined Krishna consciousness, Srila Guru Maharaj gave me Sharanagati. I first published Sharanagati for Srila Guru Maharaj in 1949, and at that time I felt this type of happiness. I felt my experience of Balya Prem was with Sharanagati. So this is very sweet expression. Like teenage love, it is like the strongest form of love in this world. That's the expression of this Bengali poet. So Gurudev is saying, I felt that type of love for Sharanagati. That was the first book that Srila Guru Maharaj gave me. And of course, Gurudev, he will mention here how Srila Sridhar Maharaj tick-marked so many of the songs and told him to memorize them. And then Gurudev, that was the first book he published also for Srila Sridhar Maharaj. When I joined the lotus feet of Srila Guru Maharaj as a young boy, he gave me this book and said, if you can memorize it, you take it. So this is 1947. Gurudev's 17 years old. I had some capacity as a kirtan singer from my childhood, and Srila Guru Maharaj wanted to begin training me according to my qualifications. As a boy, I had learned from my father many Vaishnava songs. They were good songs, no doubt, but they are songs which are sung by sahajiyas. And this is a point that we forget sometimes. These songs that they sing, sometimes called Leela Kirtan, they're very wonderful songs. It's just we're not qualified to sing them. Like on that occasion when Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, he was staying in the Mat and he was going out to hear this Leela Kirtan with some Sahaja groups. He wasn't thinking, these are Sahajas, they're bogus people. He just wanted to sing that Kirtan because it's so wonderful. And of course, Gurudev's telling here how Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he mentions it. He told him first to forget those songs, and then years later, Srila Sridhar Maharaj wanted to hear those songs from Srila Gurudev. So the songs themselves, they are very exalted. It is just a question of qualification, whether one is qualified to hear or to sing them. So as a boy, I had learned from my father many Vaishnava songs. They were good songs, no doubt, but they are songs which are sung by sahajiyas. Srila Guru Maharaj told me, first you must forget all of those songs. I said, yes, I will not sing any of those songs again. And I never sang those songs again. Later, maybe 25 or 30 years later, Srila Guru Maharaj wanted to hear some of those songs from me. And he asked me, can you remember those songs now? I said, Maharaj, I cannot remember the style of singing for those songs. So Gurudev was so surrendered. He fulfilled that first instruction so thoroughly. Anyhow, when Srila Guru Maharaj first gave me Sharanagati, he tick-marked 32 songs and said, memorize these 32 songs within 7 days. Then every day, one by one, or as required, you can sing those songs. That book is still in my room, and I memorized those songs. How that happened, I do not know. Now my memory is not always working. Still, I hate to look at the book when I am singing. I never want to sing any song which I do not know. All the songs are within my memory. Now maybe I miss one point as I am singing, but still I am never prepared to read from the book as I sing. And that was Srila Guru Maharaj's style. Guru Maharaj knew all the songs and he would always sing them without the book. Previously, he sang so much. He sang all the songs and showed us everything. After I joined, Guru Maharaj got some relief and would give charge to me, saying, Govinda Maharaj, you sing, you sing, you sing. During assemblies of devotees, Srila Guru Maharaj would always request me to sing 2 particular songs from Sharanagati. Emana Dormati Samsara Bitare and Ki Jani, Ki Bole, Tomara Damete. Guru Maharaj gave me these 2 songs for my own realization. He wanted that every day I would really think, Ki Jani, Ki Bole, Tomara Damete, Hoinu Sharanagata. By what force have I surrendered unto your lotus feet? Every day, very nice Sankirtan is happening here in our temple. I cannot go and join the Sankirtan party, but I am always joining with the devotees mentally, and also hearing the songs they are singing. Every day they are singing such beautiful songs. It is very important, though, to have some realization about those songs. Every phrase within the songs we sing is very sweet and very meaningful. And it is necessary to realize why we are singing these songs every day. Through that realization, we can cross over illusion. We have heard from Srila Guru Maharaj many times that Prabhupada Srila Saraswati Thakur would tell his disciples, Jaya Shri Shri Guru Garanga Radha Kiri. We have heard from Srila Guru Maharaj many times that Prabhupada Srila Saraswati Thakur would tell his disciples that some of the songs are very important to realize. He would say especially that the song Amara Jivan Sada Pape Rata is very important for practitioners to realize. Srila Guru Maharaj told us that he would say that we must realize the position of our own self. What are we doing? What are we eating? How are our activities going on? We must have some realization about these things. I am thinking it is no doubt difficult for everyone to go on living every day without worldly forms of enjoyment. I am always thinking so much about the situation of the conditioned souls in this mundane world. I am always thinking so much about the situation of the conditioned souls in this mundane world. This is very heart-touching. This is the nature of the Vaishnava. They are paradukkha dukhi. They have no care for themselves. They have no suffering. They feel no pain, no sorrow on their own account. But they are only sorrowful to see the sorrow of others. And of course, that sorrow is lack of Krishna consciousness. That is the only true sadness. That is the only true sorrow. So that is their mission. Gurudev is saying here in a very heart-touching way. I'm always thinking about the state of the conditioned souls in this world. Like, how can I help them? And we saw that with Srila Gurudev. There were a few occasions before he came to speak, that he expressed, I've been thinking about this for a few days now. Like, what is the best way to present this to the devotees? How can I explain this to them? Like, deeply. One of those was a talk he gave about the importance of non-enviousness. This, second verse of the Bhagavatam. Dharma projita kaitavo paramo nirmat saranam satam. This is fundamental to the practice of our Krishna consciousness, to be free from envy, to develop love and affection for our fellow practitioners, Vaishnavas, for the Lord. But when he started that talk, as I recall, he said, for 3 days now, I've been thinking about this, you know. And he didn't go directly to the point either. He had like a whole lead up to it, in a very in a step by step way. He presented that, and other occasions also. He expressed that, I've been thinking about this for some days. There was another talk he gave, which is published in Revealed Truth, Evolution and Revolution, this chapter. And the Gurudev servitors, they described how for some days before Gurudev was contemplating this, and he was like wanting to know the definition in the dictionary of these words, asking the devotees around him. For some days he was contemplating, and then finally he gave this wonderful talk. So very deeply Gurudev was always thinking that his whole life was for that. How can I help these poor lost souls in this world, drowning in illusion? How can I try to give something of inestimable value to those who don't care for it, who don't realize that they need it, who don't know that it is the very, it is the deepest necessity of their lives. Vairagya Bhakti Sampayatner Apayan Mam Anabipsam Andam. What is it? Vairagya Bhakti Sampayatner Apayan Mam Anabipsam Andam. Kripam Bhubir, Paraduka Duki Sanat Kripam Bhubir Paraduka Sanatanastam Parum Ashrayami. This is hello. This is Srila Raghunath Das Goswami's prayer to Sanatana Goswami. That I had no interest in devotion. I had no interest in Krishna consciousness. But my Gurudev, Sanatana Goswami, he is an ocean of mercy, Kripambudir. He is Paraduka Duki. His only sorrow is to see the sorrow of others. He caused me. I was blind, I was unwilling, but he caused me to taste this inconceivable nectar. I had no interest. I was unwilling to take that. But he made me drink nectar. He forced me to drink nectar. So this is the mercy. We cannot really conceive of what loving and what compassionate hearts our gurus have. But truly, their whole lives they live in trying to act for the welfare of others. And so Gurudev, he is giving us some indication of that deep feeling in his heart here. I'm always thinking so much about the situation of the conditioned souls in this mundane world. It is unpalatable and very hard, no doubt. But Srila Saraswati Thakur's advice is that we must clean our mind every day by singing the songs of Sharanagati, and especially this song, Amara Jivan Sada Paperata. Just as we clean our home when we awaken in the morning by sweeping with a broom, so we should clean our mind by sweeping it with this song. By sweeping our minds with this song, the dirt within it is removed. It becomes cleaned and our activities are redirected in the proper way. Srila Guru Maharaj told us this many times. It is necessary to sweep clean our minds every day through Sankirtan. So these songs, they are grace. They are helping to give clarity to us about our situation. So this song, Amara Jivan, when we sing that song, when we read the translation, so many points in there, we think to ourselves, oh, yes, that is true. I am like that. I didn't actually think about it before. It hadn't occurred to me before, but now it's being pointed out. Yes, it is absolutely true. I cannot deny. So then, by shining that torchlight on those black spots, then it is possible for purification to take place. First, there must be that consciousness, that awareness that it is there. Om Jnanantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Nichanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. This is the grace of Guru. We are living in ignorance. We are blind as to what is our real situation. But Gurudev, he is giving us that light, giving us that mercy and revelation of what is our real position that will deepen our aspiration, our hankering to realize where we are and how far it is that we have to go and how much harder we have to try. So, very helpful song for us. It is very good that the devotees are patiently trying to follow this. I am getting inspiration by seeing their activities. Maya, the illusory environment of Lord Krishna, is always living beside us and trying to attract us. But by the grace of the mood of surrender and devotion to Lord Krishna, this is very nice. But by the grace of the mood of surrender and devotion to Lord Krishna, this is something we forget sometimes, that surrender is not something that we do actually, but surrender is something that will descend to us, Surrender, Sharanagati, devotion, these all have their, personified existence. There's one talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where I think he's referring to the Ramananda Samvad and the different, gradations that are found there. And then when he comes to the level of Jnana Shunya Bhakti, that verse which we were discussing yesterday, Jnane Prayashamu Pashanamanta Eva, then he says, now he is in a safe position. Now, I think he uses the word Sharanagati. No, Shraddha. Yeah. Now Shraddha, now faith has given shelter to him. Now Shraddha has given shelter to him. Not that he has Shraddha, but Shraddha has come, Shraddha has given shelter to him. Shraddha is super subjective to us. So we want to take shelter of Shraddha, we want to take shelter of Sharanagati, devotion. This is the real, the proper way of thinking of these things. By the grace of the mood of devotion, by the grace of the mood of surrender and devotion to Lord Krishna, under the direction of Guru and Vaishnava, we must cross over the illusory environment. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Guru Maharaj have tried to give the conditioned souls inspiration to surrender. This is the primary purpose of their teachings. And this reminds us of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's verse in the first chapter of Prapana Jivanamrita, where he says we must earnestly discuss the topic, the subject of Sharanagati, so that the desire to do Sharanagati, that will come within our hearts, or to take shelter of Sharanagati. So our Guru Varga, they are trying to give us that inspiration to surrender. This is the primary purpose of their teachings. Wow, this is the primary purpose of their teachings. I have seen that it is not necessary to know so many things. If you know how to swim, then you can cross a river. You do not need to know where the river is coming from, where it is going, what is inside the river, or which way the river is flowing. You do not need to check the speed at which the river is flowing, or analyze the river with the barometer, temperature gauge, or anything else. You only need to know how to swim and in which direction you need to swim. That is sufficient for swimming across a river. The knowledge presented in Sharanagati by Bhaktivinoda Thakur is like that. It is clear, simple knowledge, which by itself is sufficient for us to cross over this illusory environment and reach the divine abode of the Lord. And this example of swimming, it is very, very perfect example, and Srila Gurudev, he used it a number of times. So, the knowledge presented in Sharanagati by Bhaktivinoda Thakur is like that. It is clear, simple knowledge, which by itself is sufficient for us to cross over this illusory environment and reach the divine abode of the Lord. There's this very nice talk of Gurudev. We're going to publish it, where it's a very extraordinary talk he gave, where some devotees, they kept asking Gurudev, it's like 45 minutes, about, you can almost guess, because this is always like the question that people want to ask, about Jiva Tattva, and how the Jiva follows the material world. Like, this is the kind of question that you can chew on forever, you know. And Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, of course, they've been asked so many times about this. But anyway, one time when Gurudev was in Italy, some group of devotees were asking him, and like really persisting and getting very technical, and Gurudev very patiently answering them for at least 45 minutes. It went on, and they were, you know, they just kept asking questions, and then suddenly, in the middle of it, Gurudev changed the subject, and because what happened is one of the sannyasis, they mentioned one analogy that Srila Sridhar Maharaj has given of illusion as like the spirit of enjoyment as like intoxication. You know, how the jiva soul, when they enter this world, they become influenced by this like intoxication of exploitation, like that. Maya. And then Srila Gurudev, he picked up that point, and he just totally went in another direction. And then he started discussing how some devotees have habits of intoxication, like in a literal way. You know, they struggle like with drug abuse or alcohol or whatever. And he was asking the sannyasis present, like what was their advice, and like, what is the solution? And so there was some discussion like that for some time, and the devotees are like sharing experiences, the sannyasis sharing experiences they've had, and so that was discussed for a while. And then somebody in the audience, they asked like more specifically about this, saying like, we live in the Western world and we're like victims of the material environment. Like, it's hard to avoid these things. And so they were like continuing on from that, theme of intoxication. But actually, Gurudev had already like discussed that point, So then when that devotee asked that question, then Gurudev answered. But as he continued with his answer, it became clear he wasn't speaking to that person. He was speaking to the original group of devotees who kept pressing him with all these points about Jiva Tattva. And so this devotee, sincerely, he's asking in like a humble and sincere way. And then and Gurudev, he's saying, like they're asking, what is the solution? What is the remedy? And then Gurudev responded saying, I know that remedy. Yes, I know that remedy, and I can give that remedy. And he said, but I cannot give that remedy. Nobody can digest it. If I will say, like in the public meeting, nobody will be able to accept. I can say it, but nobody will be able to follow it. And he said, if I'm with my own disciples, then I can talk straight with them. That wasn't his exact words, but that mood. Then I can tell them. Those who are following me blindly, I can tell them, and they will do it. But the general devotees, they won't be able to digest this. And so he was has this kind of little dramatic leading up to I know the solution, but I'm not going to say the solution. I can't say it in public. And then he said, but the remedy is there. And Srimad Bhagavatam accepted that remedy, and Mahaprabhu accepted that remedy, but I can't say what that is. And then he said, and then he finally came out with it, and he said, the remedy is, and it's exactly the verse that we've been discussing, Jnane prayasham rupashana mante eva, this verse, to give up the knowledge-seeking attempt. This is the starting point of pure devotion. And then he started to go a little heavy, and it became more and more clear. He wasn't talking to that devotee who asked that sincere question. And then he started to get a little heavy and saying how this mood of wanting to know everything and understand everything, it's going to get us nowhere. And also extremely humorous, in a very humorous way. He's saying, they want to know how many legs does Nrsingadev have, and they want to know what Nrsingadev is eating every day, and they want to know this, and they want to know that. and he told one story of one man he was a friend of one of his disciples in Puri, some educated man, I think from another Vaishnav line, or no, maybe connected to the Gaudiya line. Yes, connected to the Gaudiya line, but not exactly in our, maybe not even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's group, but within the Gaudiya group, because he was referring to Baladev Vijayabhushan's Govinda Bhashya. So yes, in the Gaudiya school. So then he was telling how once he was in Puri, and this man, he was a lawyer. He insulted some of our sannyasis, saying that if somebody hasn't read this Govinda Bhashya, it's the commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which was made by Baladev Vijayabhushan. This man was saying, if someone hasn't if a sannyasi hasn't read this Govinda Bhashya, they can't be considered a real sannyasi in our sampradaya. If they haven't studied this work, then they're nobody, we can't take them seriously. And Gurudev, he got a little upset about that. From the way he described it, that man wasn't speaking to him, but Gurudev was like next door and he overheard and he got upset. And he was saying like, in my house he will insult our sannyasis. I couldn't tolerate that. So he went and spoke to him and he was saying, I've read Govinda Bhashya. How many arms do I have? You've read Govinda Bhashya. How many arms do you have? Your Gurudev who taught you Govinda Bhashya, how many arms does he have? Everybody has Chatur Bhuj. Everybody has 4 arms, Narayan form. So you've read this book, you've studied this book, but what have you got out of it? Where has that really taken you, So we want to know so many things, we're trying to understand so many things, but we don't know how to swim. Then that was how he kind of concluded it. We can analyze so many things about the river, and we can count how many stars are in the sky, and which way the wind is blowing, and this and that. We can ask so many questions, but at the end of the day, do you know how to swim across the river? This is the essential point. It is a very practical and simple and beautiful thing. So this, that is why Gurudev says, if we didn't have anything else, if we had lost everything else, but we had this Sharanagati, we would have everything. This is the essential thing. So Sharanagati is a small book, but all wealth is present within it in a glorious way. Through the songs of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we get the gist of all the scriptures. If all the scriptures disappeared from this mundane world, but Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs remained, we would still have everything. We can get everything through his songs. That's the end of this piece taken from Srila Gurudev's. This is very short. We can at least finish this. This is from actually Sermons of the Guardian of Devotion, Volume 1. In Praise of Sharanagati, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. When I entered Sri Gaudiya Mat, I received Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's small Bengali book, Sharanagati, for the very first time. It was so sweet to me that I purchased several copies and distributed them amongst my friends. Its price was only 4 paisa. It was so sweet, it touched my heart. I thought, here is Krishna. Krishna Katha talks of Krishna, is Krishna himself. Here is talk about Krishna and Adhokshaja, the transcendental. I later composed a short commentary when I was in Nandagram. And I'm pretty sure this is Srila Sridhar Maharaj is referring to when he left the Gaudiya Mat. So this is around 1940. And he spent the month of Kartik in Vrindavan. And then it was after that he came to stay in Navadvip. So I believe Srila Sridhar Maharaj is referring to that period. It was then that he composed this commentary. So I later composed a short commentary when I was in Nandagram, and it is published along with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary in Bengali. I wrote an introductory poem to the commentary on Sharanagati. And that we will come to that, of course. We will come to that as part of the introductory section. Hare Krishna, welcome. And it's so beautiful, this analogy that Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives. And this is just 2 lines from there. Swaira charabdi samagnan jivangarangvi pankaje ujitya sharanapater mahatmyam samabodayat. All the conditioned souls are samagnan. They are diving or struggling in the ocean of swairachar, or pleasure-seeking, anyabilash, immoral or whimsical activities. So literally, swairacharabdi means the ocean of their own desires, like their own whimsical desires. They're like for me, I always think of like a big, like a bunch of fish, like swimming in water. So like we're like that, We're like floundering. That's the word I'm looking for. In this ocean, which is composed of our own innumerable, fleeting, whimsical desires. That is how we are living. All the 1,000,001 random, fleeting thoughts that go coursing through our brain. We're following them. We are creating corresponding environment. So we're swimming in that. And this is a pranam mantra to Srila Saraswati Thakur. Then Gaurangri Pankaje Ujritya. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is referring to his Gurudev. So you took them out of that ocean. Taking them out of that ocean, you put them in the lotus. You took them to the lotus feet of Gauranga. You collected them from the wide, troubled ocean and gave them to the lotus feet of Gauranga. Whenever I hear this verse, I think, there's nothing more beautiful than this. We're swimming in this ocean of our own desires, and Gurudev has come, taken us out of that ocean, put us at the feet of Mahaprabhu. And then, it gets even better. Ujritya sharanapater mahatmyam samabodayat. And so, having placed them there, you began to instruct them about the great nobility and high value of Sharanagati, exclusive surrender. Samabodayat, you tried to make them understand and realize the efficacy of Sharanagati proper. You, my Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, did so. So I bowed down to you. I bowed down unto you first. Then I also wrote a verse offering obeisance unto the writer of Sharanagati, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So we'll come to those verses. We can finish our reading for today. And who do we have here? Who's this?
Your name?
What is your name?
Oh, I'm Martin.
What is it?
Martin.
Martin. Okay, is this your first? Oh, you also don't know Martin.
Martin came a few times.
Oh, okay.
During last year.
Okay,
I
nice.
know Ananda. So far.
You know
Ananda.
Ananda.
Ramananda.
Oh, Ramananda. Okay.
Ananta, Govinda, Ramananda.
Okay. Ananta and Ananda.
Vishakha.
Nice to meet you, Martin.
My pleasure.
Well, so nice you were inspired to come by this evening. We're just having our regular evening kirtan and some discussion. Do you have any particular point you'd like to hear about? Or you want to share some thoughts you have, or what you're feeling about this whole thing?
The question is too objective. I don't know where to start and how to pick up.
Jai Adityanandan Prabhu ki Jai.
How do I feel about this institution in general, or how do I feel in this particular moment?
Sorry, or
I do not understand your question clearly.
do you have a question, or do you want to share what your thoughts are about this, the teachings that you've heard here so far.
So far, what you have read? Or
No, over the course of the last year you've been a few times, so you must have some conception of what this is all about. Or would you like to hear clearer explanation?
I haven't got any thoughts at the moment. I need to recollect them to make them just and honest and not forced.
Yes, wonderful.
It's very clear to me that the lineage, the teaching of the Krishna, which is 600 years old, originated in India, that it came to foreign land so far from the origin, and it took the roots, and it's got quite large and still growing number of followers, which is amazing, really. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Then I can see people benefiting from it. Definitely. This is the training process. This is not the end. All the teachings, they are the means, the pointers to go somewhere. But as long as you got any conception, any thoughts, then you are far away from the goal. Right? You are following the right direction, but when the logic ends, then the God reveals itself, Krishna. Really, it cannot be explained precisely. It can be described in words very close by, but I think that the spoken language is not completed, is not evolved enough to describe the greatness of Krishna, really. And everyone is got personal experience of him. Something that cannot be described, really.
Yes, we are trying to attract that descending grace, on our own, through our own mental power, through our own physical endeavor, mental endeavor. We cannot approach him. We depend on his will to graciously reveal himself to us. And as you described, it is a heart transaction. So, yes, we take help of understanding and these things to keep us on the right track, but ultimately it will be something beyond that. And we consider revelation, what descends from above, that to be the highest thing. Our whole practice is based on this premise that he can make himself known to us, by his love, by his grace. There was one occasion when our grandfather, Guru Srila Sri Maharaj, he's pictured here in second. he gave a talk at some religious conference in what is now Karachi in Pakistan. And then afterwards, one man there challenged him and said, you are a finite being, and you are speaking like you're able to describe the infinite, God the infinite. Because, some schools of thought, they reject the proposal that the Lord has a personal form, because they say, oh, he's beyond that, why are you limiting him? Exactly. He's not limited to any one form.
Both parties are right, and they both wrong. Where there is argument, there is something wrong. That's the wrong thing to argue. He can be anything and everything.
Yes.
And more than that.
So this man, he challenged Srila Sridhar Maharaj like that. Like, how can you say you know something about the infinite, you're finite? Srila Sridhar Maharaj, very, very intelligent, he very quickly responded. And he says, yes, what you say is true. The finite cannot know the infinite. That is true. But, however, if the infinite is really infinite, then he must have infinite means, infinite capacity. And therefore he must have some way, some means by which he can make himself known to the finite. Right? He is not...
Yes, but maybe not fully. We are too little to fully overcome the greatness of Krishna. We can have some, but limited knowledge of him, as long as we are in the material form.
Well, the point of Srila Sridhar Maharaj is here is that we can know him according to how much he wants us to know him. According. Yes, so this is the point, that our process is to make ourselves receptive to that grace, to make ourselves, suitable receivers and receptacles of that.
What I have realized, based on my experience, little me, no one really, there is not much that we can do, but the best that we can do is to undo, to open. It's not doing really, it's giving, it's letting go and opening really. And it doesn't require any effort, just surrender. No. No.
Surrender. That's what we've just been discussing. Sharanagati. This is the magic word.
Yes.
Surrender. Sharanagati. And we're fortunate that we have been given so many opportunities to try to satisfy the Lord's will. The scriptures, they describe, what does the Lord like? And so, in this way, Krishna consciousness or Bhagavad Dharma, it is very simple. There's nothing convoluted or artificial about it. It is, what God likes, we're trying to do that. And that is the highest way by which we can surrender. Try to leave aside whatever conceptions we've collected from this world. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he gives the analogy of the black box that they keep on airplanes. It keeps a record of all the things that have gone on. So that we all have this black box of ego, that we've collected so many different impressions, so many different misconceptions, prejudices we've acquired throughout innumerable lifetimes, throughout the course of wandering throughout so many planes of existence and so many different species of life. We've acquired all of these misconceptions, prejudices, and we're holding on to them. So the process of surrender entails leaving that aside and submitting to what is descending from above.
So it is.
In and that what is coming from above means what is given in the scripture, which has come down to the line of our, of teachers, and in the living saints. So whatever comes from that higher plane, we will try to adhere to that, to follow that, and set aside whatever we've collected in our little black box. So yes, this open-mindedness. So we have to come with this feeling, this thought that whatever this is, I have to remember I don't really know. I have to keep an open mind here, ready to understand something higher. Yeah.
Regarding this black box, please don't get offended. Have you got any view into yours? Have you seen it all?
Oh yeah, I have so many.
What have you seen it?
Have I seen it?
Have you seen it? I mean, beyond this world, your journey, you had any...
I mean, I find within myself so many layers of false identification.
So you know how it is. It can be approached with intuition, not intelligence, really no...
But we're not getting too bogged down with that. We'll be very depressed.
We can drop it. It's no need for it.
If we think about it too much, we'll get very depressed. So we're rather... What's that?
It depends how we take it. We can get depressed or bored or excited. You see, different people will respond in different manners to the same topic. But we can pass it, we can solve it.
No, but you see, this black box, it is all based on misconception. And it is what has been acquired from the temporary plane. So ultimately it doesn't have any real meaning. It is based on illusory conceptions.
Where there is conception.
So we prefer to give our attention to the substantial plane of truth, to the eternal plane, the real reality. And we're trying to culture that mood and follow that path which will take us to that higher plane. Because we have these layers, but underneath these layers, there's something real. So through the process of surrender, these covers will start to fall apart, and we will begin to feel more and more that real person within. So we're trying to culture reality more than give so much attention to non-reality. It is the positive, positive approach, positive spiritual practice. I think we're running out of time. Maybe we'll stop there. But great to see you, Martin. And tomorrow is our Saturday program. If you're free around 12 o'clock, we'll have discussion and kirtan. Nice prasadam, nice devotees. Thanks for stopping by. Will you join us for some dinner now?
I've been eating.
You haven't been eating? Oh, you already ate. Then you'll just take a crumb. Please. No problem. We're so happy you came. If you want to follow along, it's page 60. Hare Hare Namah Krishna Radhavaya Namaha